What's going on, everyone? This is Damien from the Lookout, and we are back with our double uploads. Today I am going to show you how to stop Green Gohan. Yeah, this deck has been terrorizing people, to put it very lightly, terrorizing people for the entirety of the BT21 meta, at least the first half. And now it's time for me to show you some ideas, some ways of stopping it, and this will hopefully help you perform better against it at regional events. But before we begin this video, huge shout out to our patrons, the Coffee Club. They buy us coffee, they keep us going. Guys, like these wonderful people provide me with the energy, caffeine energy that I need to continue making videos at this pace. So if you would like to join the Coffee Club, link to the Patreon is in the description below. Anyways, yeah, that's it. Roll the video! As with all of our videos, let's start with the breakdown. So in this video, we're gonna talk about Green Gohan. I'm gonna give you a brief breakdown of the archetype so that you can see what are the problems, what's the problem with Green Gohan, how do you fight him, and then we'll just end it with a summary. Let's go! As all of you know, Gohan is the deck to beat in this meta. This is the best performing leader in the metagame. At least in the first half. We still don't have enough data from the second half. Like I said, one of the best performing leaders. And what's the deal with Gohan? He is extremely consistent, plus he has very powerful turn 3 plus cards. He can swarm the field, he can do critical damage with his boss monster. He has a 20k double strike Z leader. Exceptionally powerful. However, he's relatively easy to beat once you know how to stop him. And we are seeing this more and more. We are seeing a lot of Gohans on some events, but we don't see them performing as well anymore because players are starting to learn how to fight this deck. One of the biggest offenders when it comes to Gohan's power is his boss monster. Like, this boss monster is incredible. This is like a red boss monster, but in green. One of the worst colors in the game. So this just kind of tells you how strong this thing is. The problem that a lot of people are running into is not only does it KO something, it discards a card, it has deflect, barrier, double strike, but if you have a Z leader out, it also can crit a life on swing. He just swings and crits one of your lives. That's the issue, so we will be addressing this further along in the video. Now let's talk about Gohan's game plan. Gohan's game plan is extremely simple. It's very straightforward. The goal of the first 3 turns is always the same. He is looking to awaken, to Z awaken. That's what he's trying to do in the first 3 turns. It's always the same, unless the deck just kind of bricked turn 1, and then like the plays are a bit different, but the goal is still the same. He's looking to Z awaken. He's also looking to pressure you with critical swings and moderate hand destruction. He's not as hand destruction heavy as some other decks that we have seen. Like last time in Oceania we saw Cell Reboot rip like 7+ hands in 1 turn. So he's not that hand destruction heavy, but he still has a moderate amount of cards which you just kinda discard cards from your hand. You have the boss monster and you have the Kaioken Goku, and then just rip a couple of cards. He starts going off after turn 3. So after turn 3 he has Z awakened. He has what he needs to start burning your lives with his boss monster. He has enough energy to cheat in a bunch of things in 1 turn. He really goes off after turn 3. His late game plan is basically to beat you with Z leader and boss monster. Like, that's the end goal, especially when you can just crit a life when you swing with the boss monster. So yeah, this is Gohan's game plan. What to do against Gohan? Okay, the first thing that you need to consider is that stopping Gohan isn't that hard to do. Just look at some of the latest tournament results. We used to have Gohan overperforming everywhere, just flat out across the board Gohan. And while Gohan still did win the majority of the events, the vast majority of events, we're seeing less and less of him in Top Cut. And this is mostly because players are learning how to fight it. It isn't that hard once you know how to do it, but even when you know, it's not a guaranteed win. So keep that in mind. There aren't any generic silver bullets which just flat out stop Gohan, but there is a way to play against it which a decent portion of decks can use. For the decks which can't go with this specific playstyle, there are answers to Gohan's big plays, specifically his boss monster, though not every color in the game has them. Now let's dive into some of these solutions. The simplest, flat out easiest solution when it comes to fighting Gohan is just don't charge your third energy. I'm not saying don't ever charge it, but don't just immediately drop it to the field. Don't do that. If you go around and you ask some of the better players in the game, they will likely tell you that one of the ways of fighting Gohan is just staying on 2 energy. Why? Because he can't use his boss monster if you are on 2 energy. He can't use Fated Rival, which a lot of Gohans are running, if you are on 2 energy. For example, the Latam winner, Oscar, won the event with Apeku and he demolished 2 Gohans by remaining on 2 energy. Like, that's just it. That's how you fight it. Some decks can do this easier than others. Peter Dance demonstrated this with Trunks, where he just stayed on 2 energy until he got his skill turn. Like, that's it. The problem is staying at 2 energy for an extensive period of time, and just the idea that not all decks can actually do this. Let's talk about why is it so important to stay in 2 energy and what exactly do you gain by doing this. So when you're on 2 energy, fighting against Gohan basically becomes a resource game. Here's the thing. Gohan can't use his boss monster anymore. He can't use Fated Rival Goku. That also means that he can't use Fated Rival Piccolo either. There are also some other cards which he just flat out can't use. So what happens here? The following happens. Gohan is stuck with all of these cards in hand. So if you start applying pressure to him, he's going to start comboing them off. Like, he's not gonna combo off his small dudes that he can actually play. He's gonna combo off his big plays, which are just dead cards in his hand at this point. By doing this, you're denying him resources for later on in the game. Let's say you manage to apply enough pressure to force Gohan to combo, let's say, 2 of his boss monsters and a Fated Rival Goku. Let's say you manage to do this, and there are decks which can put this amount of pressure out. At that point, you're in the stage of the game where you can just safely charge your third energy. If you're confident that you will kill him, you can just charge your third energy. Or if you're confident that you took enough resources away from him that you can put the third one in and continue the game and continue defending yourself, you can do so. So basically, it's a resource game. And the big upside is that nothing in the deck, except for the super rare and Fated Rivals, is any real threat to you. Gohan gets to play a lot of things. Gohan can cheat in a lot of things. But they're usually small crit swings, they're usually single strike attacks, or like discard 1. They're not really big, they're not difficult to deal with. So you're just playing defensively. You're playing defensively for a bit when you're fighting him, and then you just hit, the gas pedal on your turn and you start swinging and just denying him resources, just taking them away. So this is what you get when you're fighting Gohan and you don't charge your third energy. Let me show you some leaders which do well on only 2 energy. Think of these also more as example of gameplay styles which work well on 2 energy against Gohan. First off, SSG Trunks and Black in general. So you can go with Kai, but Kai has a much harder time fighting Gohan than Trunks does. Black has a lot of free play. Black can afford to remain on 2 energies. Trunks especially. However, Trunks, unlike Kai, still needs to spend some energy, but he can afford to just sit on 2. Plus he has a very cool floodgate. The other upside with Trunks is that you have a baseline 20k Z leader. If you lock Gohan to if you remain on 2 energies to lock Gohan out of his boss monster and fated rival, and he only can play a whole bunch of small guys and your base 20 leader, you're probably winning at that point, because Gohan now needs to commit cards, he needs to commit combo power to attack you, to deal damage. It's much easier for you to defend because you're base 20, plus Gohan doesn't want to commit so much because you're already draining him of his resources from all of your attacks. So Trunks, very well, very strong deck. That's what I want to say. English hard. Anyway, next one is Soul Striker. Exceptionally good at this playstyle. Because Soul Striker is blue and he has access to some other tools, he can go above 2 energies. Of course he can go above 2 energies. He's here more as a poster child for decks which can restand a lot of energy. And he always restands 2. So you're not playing on 2 energy, you're playing on 4. Golden Frieza is like another example of a leader who can do this, but it's easier when you're Soul Striker. So you can do some of your bigger plays on 2 energies and just take Gohan's toys away from him, especially when he just restands. Like you can go like lock him with only 2 energies, slam down Oob, take away his field, attack, restand, and then just swing with Oob. Like yeah, and whenever he starts putting small guys on the board, you just Oob them away. So Soul Striker, pretty good. Then Apeku. Apeku just won't let him. Apeku is not an easy deck to play, and he's here as an example of a deck which can create a strong board state on 2 energies. That's how the Latam champion won against Trunks. So if a deck can create a strong board state against Trunks, against Gohan, if a leader can create a strong board state on only 2 energies, you're in a huge advantage over your opponent. You're just in a flat out huge advantage. And finally, Rose, this is because of like temporary ramp. This leader can ramp temporarily. Just go to free very briefly and just play what you want on 3 energies and then go back to 2. Just get your lock back on. Not a lot of leaders do have this temporary ramp, but those which have, they have a much easier time playing on only 2. So yeah, these are the leaders. Let's check out some other things. There is one important thing that I need to mention. One very important thing that you need to take into consideration. It's important to know that you can't just sit on 2 energy forever and expect to win. Some decks can. Some decks can do this, but a lot of them can't. The strategy will buy you time, but you still need to win the game somehow before Gohan beats you with his swarm of attackers. Every turn that you don't charge an energy, you're not facing a boss monster. But every turn that you don't charge an energy, Gohan charges one. So unless you can pressure him really well and take away his resources, you're basically playing on 2 energies on borrowed time. So you need to use that time as best as you can. Like I said, some decks can just sit on 2 energy. Trunks, SSG Trunks can sit on 2 energy forever. No problem. But some decks just can't. Decks which can pressure Gohan onto energy do exceptionally well here. Apeku, for example, from the Latam Championship, just pressured him onto energy, just swarmed the board, kept attacking him, forced him to use his resources from hand. 20k Z leaders work well. Trunks, SSG Trunks, 20k baseline Z leader. Once you get to Z Awaken, if you're keeping Gohan locked by being on 2 energy, he can't beat you anymore. The only big swing that he has is his boss monster, and you can save your negates for that one, and then he just can't beat you without overcommitting. And finally, floodgates followed by a board wipe are amazing, so use them. Now let's talk about counters. Like I said, not all leaders can actually play on 2 energy, and even those which can want to have some counters for later in the game. There are counters which help you stop Gohan's boss monster and his fated rival, but they are not available in all colors. So the main ones are Petrification, Motaito, and Mafuba. These are the main ones, but as you can see, they're locked to only 3 colors. Green, unfortunately, only has Bigamore, so you will have to commit 2 energies ahead of time when you're playing green, because, you know, we're not allowed to have cheaper floodgates. And the last one, the one that's very generic, is Shin. And Shin is the one that you're likely playing in red, because red doesn't have this sort of a counter. So you just go with Shin. Anyways, yeah, if you are facing the boss monster, Petrification, Mafuba, Motaito, you won't be able to stop all of his effects, but you will be able to stop his life burn. That's the important thing. And anyways, I think that's all. Like, when you go with Shin, you just flat out stop him. When you go with Bigamore, you just flat out stop him. But you're investing a lot with Bigamore, and Shin is extremely telegraphed. I mean, once you play it, it's literally there. Your opponent now knows, like, okay, I can just play around this. The other 3, much better. Next thing that we need to address is hand destruction. Gohan also has a moderate hand destruction package. So, how do we fight it? In case you don't know, you're basically fighting it with Dabura, Vegeta, and Gohan. Vegeta and Gohan are free. Dabura isn't, but Dabura is generic, you can play it in any deck. A lot of decks are sideboarding these now, like 3 to 4 copies in the sideboard. Some decks are even main decking, like Majin Exterminator. That's how crazy things are. Anyway, yeah, if you are facing difficulties with Gohan's hand destruction package, these are the cards that you want to use. Alright, taking all of this into consideration, everything that I have shown you, if you came to me and asked me, okay, Damien, give me one leader, which leader do you think is the best at fighting against Gohan? I'm gonna tell you Trunks Reboot. Now, first off, this is just my opinion, but here's what you can do with this one. First off, he can play on 2 energy. Not necessarily optimally, not as good as some other decks. For example, Soul Striker plays on 2 energy much better than Trunks does, but he can do it. At least temporarily, you can do this. Second, very important, you have protection against critical. His permanent protects you against critical swings. Your cards will go back into your hand. This is huge, because if Gohan can't beat you with his boss monster, he's going to try to pressure you with critical swings and force you to combo cards from your hand so that you don't waste that life. Trunks doesn't have that problem. He can just sit there protected from critical swings, and then you take lives whenever you need to. You just let the attacks go if you need to, or you just can't defend yourself. And he also has Mafuba. So if you decide to go above 2 energies, you still have an answer in Mafuba. You still have a way to combat Gohan. That's awesome. And on top of everything, he can use Daburas and pseudo super combos to maintain a healthy hand size. Like, this leader has everything when it comes to fighting Gohan. On top of this, you have access to Orb, you have access to Dimension Magic, you have everything that you need in blue to fight Gohan and make his day miserable. So yeah, if you came to me and you asked me, Damien, what is the best leader to fight Gohan, definitely, hands down, Trunks Reboot, in my opinion. Before we end the video, let's quickly jump into the summary. Gohan is strong, but he's very beatable. We are seeing this more and more lately. Gohan is very beatable. However, you must adapt your playstyle versus Gohan. It's one of those decks where you really need to adapt your playstyle. You know, there are sometimes decks where people just say like, oh, well, just adapt your playstyle. It doesn't mean much when this is said. It's like, oh, just do this instead of that. When you're fighting Gohan and you're locking yourself to two energies, you're really adapting your playstyle for this matchup. If you adamantly charge 3+ energies, you will lose. If you adamantly keep charging and your deck doesn't have tools to fight Gohan, you just surrender the game. The worst possible thing that you can do is play, for example, SSG Trunks. I know that I keep mentioning him a lot, but that's just because how good of a job this leader does fighting Gohan. And then you just keep charging 3rd energy, 4th energy, 5th. You just let him do horrible things to you. You will lose if you keep doing this. Not all decks can play on 2 energy optimally, so focus your sideboard for that sort of a playstyle. If you are looking to go into an event and you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna fight a lot of Gohans and I want to use Damien's idea of sticking with just 2 energies, you need to adapt your sideboard for that. If you have a deck which struggles in general to stay on 2 energy, you're gonna lose. So play your decks normally against other decks and then have a backup plan in your sideboard for situations when you're like going against Gohan and you're like, okay, I have to be on 2 energy for at least some time now. Make sure to pack Hand Destruction Hate, of course. And finally, let us know in the comments if you come up with any extra tech for stopping Gohan. Because these comments, these ideas, they really help everyone basically. So let's all get our brains together and find out more ways for stopping Gohan. That's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below. Are you prepared to fight Green Gohan? Has this advice been helpful to you? Let me know in the comments if you have some crazy ideas that I have missed, some tech, some strategies for stopping Gohan. Like I said, these comments are gonna help everyone who comes here thinking like, okay, how do I do this? So let's help each other out. Guys, I read all of your comments, I try to respond to everything. I really love our little community. I love our little community so much. And before you leave, please don't forget to share the video, hit those like and subscribe buttons, help us grow. We are on our way to 3,000 subs. 3,000 guys! 3K! Wow! And then we're gonna have an awesome giveaway. This has been Damien from The Lookout, and I'll see all of you in the next video.